again. It's your boy Heaven Clark, aka Heaven Hollywood. Wes Clark is with me. With the Clark brothers, as usual, as y'all know. And we are talking about this is our Power Recap, Episode 8, Power Book 2 Ghosts, Season 2, Episode 8, as they like to put it, 208. Man, a lot happened, a lot to break down. We're gonna do our recap. We're gonna do our theories and predictions going forward.
That's right. So, I think the episode was, it was
You
very,
got to tell them that there's gonna be a You have to tell them
yeah,
about the
it's gonna be a spoiler. Like as we
spoiler
put
alert.
in our title, spoiler alert for everyone who did not see episode 8 of season 2 as of yet.
All right,
Make sure you stop it right here. Come back to it after you watch the episode. Because not only are we talking about the episode, we're going to be talking about some predictions going forward of what we think based on this episode, based on other
right.
news and other clues that
We're
we
gonna
kind of
go back
sniffed
to
out.
some episodes that a lot of people don't remember, and you're gonna hear a
Yeah.
lot of things here that you don't hear other places. But
Yep.
I'm sure after people see it and hear it here, I'm sure you'll hear other people starting to talk about it. But just remember where you heard it first. We're going to touch on some things that I think people that we know that people aren't really talking about. So,
Yeah. So yeah, so spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet. So anyway, to get started, get right into it. We'll start off with the beginning. The episode 8 starts off in the courtroom, correct?
hmm
And I believe the name of this episode is drug related. I believe that's the name of
yep,
the episode. So that's kind of important though, you know what I mean? Because it's kind of like a play off the words too,
right,
drug related, because a lot of things also happens with people that are related to each other in this episode. So
right.
but let's start with the courtroom. As you can see the pictures of the slideshow, Carrie is getting lambasted on the stand by
My
by
boy Davis
Davis.
McLean.
Yeah. Davis, that was like he was licking his chops when he heard Carrie was going to be on the stand. So he knew he was going to destroy her. And as they saw, as you saw earlier in the episode, uh, they're like, "Hey, she never wanted the prosecutor never wanted to put Carrie on the stand, but she did
Nope.
it because Carrie had to. She basically came to her and lied and said she also knows that Tariq knew about the professor Jabari's book.
Right.
So, and she did that because she went to see Lauren and Tariq was there, and someone
Tariq
mentioned
pulled
this.
the ghost move.
Right, someone mentioned that in one of the comments. This was probably the most ghost-like move Tariq has ever pulled when he basically talks Milgram into taking Lauren's place on the stand.
Right.
So
Pretty much
she
finessed
goes.
her.
He finessed her, talked to her, blah
Yep.
blah blah, blah, do what he do, did his Tariq thing, and got her to say, I'm gonna protect Lauren and go do it myself. And he said, you just have to lie. But she told him, well, if I lie and say that, what I'm about to say is gonna put you behind bars. And he's like,
Right.
hey, you don't worry about that. You go do that. So that's what she does. But she gets on the stand, and like I said, it had Davis mouthwater, and he went up there and destroyed her from start to
Yeah. He
finish.
he he broke
You know,
Carrie Milgram, and he pretty much um if you go back to the last episode when he spoke to her, he was pretty much giving her fair warning that no matter who he put on that stand, whether it was Lauren or whether it was her, he was going to eat them alive. And
yeah,
he had, even though they never came out and said, you knew you knew that there was insinuations that these two had an intimate past.
Yeah.
So he was waiting to bring that out. You know that Davis McLean will do anything for a win, and he spared, even if it means mentioning him, as unethical that he knows it is, he's going to do anything. He said, "My client will walk free." I remember, if everyone remembers back to episode 7, he said, "Just know that somehow or another, my client will walk free."
Yeah.
And he really laid into Carrie, and
Hmm.
she never had a chance. He tore her
Yeah.
to shreds.
Just shreds. He eviscerated her. You know what I mean? It's just that plain and simple. But what we mentioned before, now we'll kind of go. Let's go through the pros of the episode. Then we'll flip back on the other side and come with some of the few cons of the episode as far as you know. You know how power does sometimes. Some of
Yeah.
their stuff is just unrealistic, and that seems to be something that's been going on since the shows
Since the
have
show started,
began.
that's one of
Uh,
the issues that I
yeah,
do have with Power. I mean, I would
yeah.
just like for it to be just a tad bit more realistic. I mean, I know it's
However, Raising
fiction,
Kanan, which not to get off subject, but we will be discussing forward in the Power universe, all of the Power shows,
right?
and Raising Kanan to me seemed like the most realistic of all of them, even though it had its moments too
Yeah,
that was unrealistic, but
still have this
it
moment,
seems like it was the most realistic of them all. So getting back to that, let's keep moving with the pros of the episode. So moving forward, so Carrie gets destroyed on the stand. Then we
right?
go to basically what leads up to the scene that you just seen on the slideshow at the table. Obviously, um, Diana is putting the pieces together
Right.
of what's going on with Monet. She's been snooping around, putting the pieces together, finding clues, and she finds a clue. She finds a baby picture of
Zeke
Zeke, and then she kind of follows up on that and basically finds out what's going on with Zeke. Monet kind of goes through and just going through Diana's stuff because she knows Diana's lying about Reek,
going to, yeah, she
and
knows she lying about
yeah,
going to that game
yeah,
because she already knows about the plan that
hmm,
they have.
that was the plan that
So
they put
so
together.
she kind of used that plan to see if
Hmm.
Diana was going to lie.
Yeah,
So once she lied, that's why she said, "Yeah, okay." Once she lied and said, "I'm going to Zeke's game," she knew that Drew said, "All you got to do is text her. He got text and she'll come running."
she'll come
Because
running.
Drew, you have to remember something. Drew knows that Diana is into Tariq more than
Yeah,
anybody. Because remember,
more
they
than
was
that.
kind of covering for each other those times at
Yeah,
Stanfield because she was keeping quiet about him and Everett, and he was keeping quiet that she liked Tariq. So
yeah,
they were kind of like covering, kind of like being each other's, cover. And when she said, yeah, she's going to the game, Mary J. Blige, Monet knew
hmm,
from there that okay, she's lying. For real. Now, this thing with Diana, we have started to see that since Lorenzo came home, we started to see a different Diana. She is now starting to resent the fact of the things, the way her mother treats her. Her mother, you remember, kind of like is forcing her into being in the game when she wanted to go to college, and the father comes home and the father lets her go to college. So everything that Monet was installing in her, she runs to Poppy, and Poppy pretty much gives her everything she wants. So she is definitely the daddy's girl, and it's just been a different look, a different swag, a different attitude about
yeah, most
Diana
definitely.
since Lorenzo's been home, especially since she's the one
Right,
who bought Lorenzo home.
right. Plus, let's not forget, she done got that tag now. You know what
Right.
I
She done
mean?
got a cherry
She
done
done
got
got some,
popped, so now she's
yeah,
different.
she done got some
She
B.
acting different.
She done, yeah, she like all like all
Look at her.
females will do. after you get a little D, and they start taking
Yep. So now you
D
now
that's
you
gotten a
acting
little
different.
D.
D for
Yeah,
different and D for
yeah,
other
D
things.
for different.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah,
so
so that's all of that's going in. So she's wants to get to the bottom, and she noticed Monet, which I always one thing I didn't like. Monet wears her expression on her sleeve too much, so it's like she just looked straight annoyed that Lorenzo was home,
goes home,
and
and Diana
and
already called on that. You know what I
called
mean?
on it. She said, "But you don't want him to be here." So go moving forward on the episode. All of that leads up to this plan, like we said. So when we mentioned the plan, there's a plan that Tariq, uh, Kane, Drew, and Monet
Mhm.
have to try to get, because they're all still hurting for money. Davis
Right.
is owed money from both of them.
Hmm.
So he's over.
They have
Davis is
no
owed about a
product.
million and a half dollars
I
worth of
mean,
money.
my God, they have no
They
product.
got no
They
product
can't pay
left.
their lawyers.
So right there's where Tariq hatches a plan to steal from the plug, who he doesn't know who it is. The plug
Right.
is Mecca,
Mecca.
aka
Absolutely,
Dante.
absolutely terrible plan. I'm sorry.
Terrible plan. This plan
I
almost
said
was as bad
okay.
as the dead president's plan.
Right, right, exactly. With the just going
This
in there
was almost as bad.
with black paint, and the
Yeah.
reason why it's almost as bad is because of who they're trying to rob. First of all,
Hmm.
Kane should have said no. Is that
Yeah.
you don't? I don't
He
think
did
y'all
warn
know
him.
who
He
y'all
did
dealing
say,
with.
"Now this guy is nothing to play with." He would say, "This guy's nothing to play with," because when he first brought it up, Kane was like, "This guy's nothing to play with." But
I
then
would
he said, "Oh,
never
we're
have
gonna blame
allowed
it on
Tariq
the other
crazy
guy."
behind to talk me into that. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but he because he felt as though remember he's gonna rob me. He said I know how we could turn it up a notch. So that he put the plan that I'm sure because he felt as though he was somewhat closer now to Mecca that he knew some things that would help them pull this off. I never thought for 1 minute that this was a good plan because
You know.
there was everything had to go
And I still
perfect.
don't think it was a good plan,
Right, just because
even
it
though
worked.
everything
That don't mean
did
right,
go pretty much perfect, which that never happens.
right.
Plans never go perfect.
Never go
Now,
perfect.
there's always something where there's a challenge where you have to adjust. The only challenge I saw in that plan was the chef came home while
Right.
Drew was in the apartment, and
And then
Drew had to, they
he
had
would
to
have to kill the
improvise.
chef. Yeah.
Right, he would have to kill the chef, and Kane had to run there and improvise to kind of get him out. But other than that,
Mm.
everything else had to go into play, and he involved. And then he brings in the freaking mystery machine. He brings in the Scooby Doo squad, and they literally pulled up in a van too, like the
Right.
modern day mystery machine.
Why
You
did
know
they
what I'm
miss the
saying?
machine?
And I'm just like, are
These
you
three
serious? Did they just
goofballs.
pull up in a
These two
right?
goofballs. You got Diane, you got Effie and Braden. You
Effie
know,
and Braden. Braden is in it just for the thrill, and he
yeah,
goes in and they use his white privilege to walk in and act like
right.
something's wrong to distract the guard in the front. So
Make me,
Drew can,
I'm
so
gonna sue you
Drew
for my
and
PS5 not working. I'm in
yeah,
tournaments,
and
and
I'm in
I'm gonna
tournament.
lose $100,000. You're gonna get sued. Okay, let me go check for you.
Let me
You
go
know,
check. First
and
of all,
leave
you're
the
not
front
gonna get sued.
unattended.
Maybe the company would, the building would sue. It ain't gonna go nowhere. But still, that was a dumb. I didn't like that. That excuse was stupid.
Yeah,
But
that was stupid
anyway,
for him to
he
get around that,
leaves,
and they
and
able
it
to walk through that type of building with that
right.
type of security. So they only got one guy there. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And
It's
remember the
just
power the first part was to cut the power. That's what Effie did
which they
first.
did.
She cut
Effie
the
kept the
power
power,
in
right?
the building. So now that takes down the the cameras. And now which the bottom line is an expensive building like that would probably have a generator backup,
Exactly. It have a
but
backup generator,
let's not dwell on that yet. We'll
right?
go back on that saying when we poke the holes in this episode. Right
Right.
now, let's point out what went well in the episode. So,
Okay.
they cut the power, then Effie comes back in, then they also in the whole fashion of like a tower heist type of deal where like the movie Tower Heist or any type of heist movie like the Italian Job. So in that
Right.
fashion, they kind of they split the screens. because things are going on at the same time. So
Right.
someone's over here, they split the screen, someone's over there. So anyway, they basically pull off this heist, so to speak. That's
Mhm.
really what it was. Because at the end of the day, they steal the ring that Mecca had that apparently presumably he's gonna give it to Monet. Because he really wants to link back up. He wants to make his family whole. He wants to be with her and have Zeke and they
Mhm.
live happily ever after, selling
Right.
drugs and supplying drugs to people.
Supplying
That's pretty
drugs.
much what he's gonna do. He's gonna
Yep.
set
Was
all her
even
kids
willing
up
to
with
set
drugs.
all of her kids up.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's no excuse for her not to leave Lorenzo. So now he doesn't realize he don't really have to do that now because Lorenzo kicked her out. But
Right.
so anyway, that plan goes well and they get through that portion. Now
Mm.
we cut back to the house
Right.
where now this is probably the climax. This is the climax of this of this episode for the most part. This is where the action really starts to rise, where it hits the peak. It hits the peak, the scene after that. But this is starting up the climax of it.
Mhm.
Diana basically puts her cards literally almost on the table
Yeah, right.
by
Like, and see, and
slamming.
I saw
Yeah.
somebody make a comment. It was like the perfect analogy. Diana's,
Hmm.
they thought that they was gonna be able to get out of it. And Diana slammed down that birth certificate like she had the high joker in spades. Like
For
ha,
real. For
so
real.
like they threw
Slammed it
down,
down.
like they
Or
threw down the
Uno, draw
the two
four.
of spades, like they threw
Draw,
down the two of spades and thought something was sweet, and then
right.
Diana said ha and
High
threw down
joker.
the
Right. High joker. Or like I said, or in Uno, draw four, draw eight. You know,
right. She threw
if
it
the person's
down
about to
there.
hit Uno and she's hits them with a draw four, then hits them with a draw eight. Yeah. So so she brings all that up, literally lays her cards on the table and points it out to Monet because the heat is rising at this table anyway. Because
Hmm.
Monet tried to get fly with her and call her out for lying. The first thing she does is she decided she gonna air everybody out. Like
Hmm.
everybody getting aired
Aired
out at
out
this table.
Kane,
She aired
aired
out
out
Kane,
Drew.
right?
No, Kane
Eh,
kind of aired out
Kane
Drew.
aired out Drew. So everyone decided, you know what? It's time. We gonna have a
Since
nice
Diana gonna air us
slice
out, we
of
gonna have a nice
honesty. They said
air
we're gonna
out
have a
dinner.
dinner is gonna be a nice bowl of honesty for
Right.
everybody. We about to
And shock and,
you
and
know
shock for dessert.
and shock for dessert. So Diana airs out Kane first. Kane, she comes clean, says Kane. She knows that Kane stole the drugs from the family to get back in.
Right.
Lorenzo is
Both
just sitting
parents
there
kind of
like,
like turn on
yeah.
him.
Lorenzo's like, is this true? You betrayed a family? He's like, yeah, it's true. Yeah, you know what? And then he just said, "Frick," he just comes clean. He's like, you know what? Yeah, it's true. And this, that, and the other. And then I should be your number two. Not true.
This nigga Tariq left it out, so
Yeah.
I to be
For
stolen.
anybody to get it,
Bad
so I
bad
got it.
job, Tariq, by the way.
That's
And
Tariq, right? So
right,
once
and
again, Kane pointing out how Tariq is careless when it comes to their
and
family.
flawed.
So that
Yep,
and flawed. So
and
he's
flawed.
trying to point that out. Now Lorenzo just sitting there like Lorenzo was like the
Well,
dog.
shout out
He
to
was like he
Lorenzo,
was
man. He was like, hmm? He just
Lorenzo
like
was like that dog in Coming to America when he was just looking and what he's looking back and forth while
what?
everybody
For
everybody remember the
Lorenzo's like,
dog
I just got out of the pen. I was just in there
yeah.
for 10 years.
Remember the
You
little
know,
dog from Coming to America when everybody was all that stuff was going on at the end and the dog's looking and just looking back. That's how he was to me in that thing. So he's like, what? And then at that point, so then Kane airs out Drew. Says, oh,
Kane's
he
providing the
didn't
comedy along
clip
the
old
way.
man. Right. So he didn't clip old boy like he was supposed to.
What?
Oh, Everett's
He's
still
still
with
with
us.
us?
Yeah. He didn't say nothing. Then he's like, oh, I forgot what Drew says, all mad. And then when Diana says, you know what? Oh yeah, Zeke gets mad. He says, "Hey, you was gonna clip my teammate? Like what the hell?
Right. Zeke, you're gonna kill my friend. Why?
Why?
And
Why
why
would
would you
you
gonna
kill him?"
and then Zeke at that moment he should have kept going.
So,
And ironically, Zeke said, "I'm out of here. I don't want nothing to do with y'all." If
hmm
Monet lets him go at that moment, oh, but then again,
no,
Diana did say,
she was
"No,
still
Zeke,
gonna.
she can't let you
Yeah,
go." She still would have added out,
she would have aired
and
her out, but
Diana,
that just gave her the perfect
right,
opportunity to say
perfect
it.
to say that that's the your mother. I mean, no, she airs out about her mother having planning it out. Drew
hmm
is like, Diana don't say anything. She curses Drew out. No, don't tell me what to do.
Stop telling me what to
Um,
do. Everybody
right.
was just going at everybody. It was
But
just so
Diana
weird.
feels this confidence because Lorenzo's sitting there. She
Yeah,
feels like because Diana is the princess. He's
yeah,
not gonna let anything happen to Diana. Now he did
no,
get a little upset when she said, "That's how I knew you still effing Tariq."
yeah,
And he's like, "Oh, you know better than that, Diana, Tariq."
yeah,
And then she's like, "Well, I ain't the only one that sleep with somebody I shouldn't be. Mommy's
right.
effing some dude named Dante."
hmm
And then she comes with the double whammy. Not only is she effing Dante, Dante is Zeke's father.
hmm
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's just it
It,
was
it
just
just
a bad episode for
it was
Monet.
really because everyone was, and that's probably what Courtney Kemp meant by a lot of secrets come because really in that one sitting, a lot of
A
secrets
lot of
came out.
secrets was revealed.
Zeke's age because she lied about his
Yes, her
age because
age.
she gave him the thing and he said no, the birth certificate is wrong, the year is wrong. She said no, it's she said it, there is no
One of the
you
things they're gonna
were
poke holes
born in
with that I had an
98.
issue with.
Right. You were born 98, not 2002. So then he's like, "What?" And the first thing he imagines is the first thing he thinks about is, "Wait a minute. That means I lied to the NCAA and that's going to mess
That's
up my
all he cares
draft."
about.
Yeah. So that's another reason why he was really going to leave.
This
Like,
this
what the hell
dude,
going?
man.
So then
This dude Zeke just never stops coming with the jokes. And he
no,
don't even be trying to be funny.
no,
But
he's
this
funny
dude,
because he's just so clueless. And I tell you, Daniel Bellamy, who plays Zeke, I heard somewhere that he kind of got a little offended because people be making fun of his character, but it's just like, dude, this character is clueless. He's obviously pretty dumb,
and now you
or else he
come out
wouldn't have
that
needed a
of course,
tutor in the first place
right.
to
Of
stay in
course,
school.
but now that you think about it, you're like, this dude is been pretty much catering to him being younger than what he is.
hmm
So he's been pretty much dumbing himself down his whole
Yep.
life because
Dumbing
he's
himself down because
if you look at
he's
it
a grown ass man. He's
right,
like, he ain't no kid. He can get drinks legally. He can get in the
right.
club.
He don't
He can
really
do
know.
everything because he's over his 20.
So
He's like
yeah,
23, right?
that
Twenty
was the thing. Yeah, right. That he's 23. Well, he's 20. Yeah, he's 23. He's supposed to be born in what she said 98.
98. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, he's
So he
23.
born when his
If
age is
it's supposed to be
23.
2021, going into 2022.
Yeah.
So
He's 23 years old,
you know,
man.
it's hilarious because he's like, nah, auntie, and she's like, boy, stop calling that woman your auntie. No, that
Right.
is
He's
not
still
your
calling her
auntie.
auntie. That's what she's saying. Like, don't you understand? Like, that is your mother. That's not your
Yep,
auntie.
that's
And
not
then
your
once
auntie.
again, Lorenzo turns his head again. What?
What?
You know what I mean?
Paula Rizzo.
This guy. And I'm just sitting there like, oh man. And then she's like, is it true? And she's like, oh, because at first Monet's
She's
just
gonna
going
kill
crazy.
Diana.
I'm gonna
No,
kill
no,
you, you
kill.
little
She's trying to.
bitch, you little
She's still
B.
trying to lie and say no,
Yeah.
no. She's
She's
lying.
lying. And also and he's like, yo, and then when that comes out, he's like, well, and then obviously Zeke leaves, and then he's like, so Zeke's your son, huh? And she's just like, yeah, she finally has to confess. And he's
Right.
just like, you better go. Well, you ask him, and what about his father? She doesn't say anything, and he's like,
She
you
just
you
looked
better
at
go.
him. You need to go.
You
Funny
need to
thing
go.
is, if I'm Monet, I would have started to go and I would stop like, wait a minute, bro, you just got here. You've
Yeah,
been going. How you gonna kick me out of my house that I've been holding down for the last 10 years or whatever? No, 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 no. If
yeah,
you that uncomfortable, I think you better go.
yeah.
But then again, I do think it's still his house. I think he purchased the house
Well, it's
or
his
what have
house.
you.
Yeah,
It
I
is
mean, it's
his
his
house.
house.
Yeah.
It's his house. I thought she was gonna turn around, to be honest with you, and say, since we airing everything out, I was effing the cop too. Like
Oh, that would have
that
been crazy.
would have been just like
I was effing Ramirez, and Kane killed
Ramirez
him.
too. That would have been everyone else would have been like, what? Because they all didn't know that either.
Right.
So they'd be like, what? So, but I mean, I guess she wasn't gonna make it work. So that scene really unfolded well. It was well acted and well played out by all of the actors in that
Yeah.
scene. Big up to every
Good
single
job.
actor in that scene. Daniel Bellamy, who plays Zeke, obviously. Roberto Colon, who plays Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Obviously, Latoya, who's Diana, and all of them. So,
Yeah.
um, good. Latoya really shined in this scene. This was her scene to
That's
shine.
a
I'm saying
coming out
Latoya, that's her
party.
real
Yep.
name, Diana, but her real
Yeah.
name is Latoya. I'm referring to her by her real name because, like you pointed out earlier, she hadn't really had these type of moments in the whole
Right.
series. This was her moment to, as an actor and then as a character, to
Right.
really drive home. Look, she came out to look because she's always been that one. The quiet, she had to be quiet. She was always being bossed around by
Yep.
Monet,
Latoya
getting hemmed
to
up.
Tonadillo.
Yeah,
Tonadillo is her name.
Tona Deal, yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, so
great,
she's
very good job.
good job by her. Great acting. Mary J. Blige, of course, she stepped it up in this scene too.
Right.
Emotions was high. And of course our boy Woody McClain,
That's
he
my
was
guy,
he
man.
was great. He was great in this scene as Kane because
He
he's just like
supplied the little
looking.
bit of comedy,
He
and
supplied the little bit of
I'll tell you one
comedy
thing
to the
about
scene.
Kane, though, man. Like one thing that I love about Kane, um, no matter how
He ain't
much the
scared.
heat is on him,
He
he's
ain't never
never going to
scared.
back. You will never
He's
see. Never going to be
everywhere.
shook.
You ain't never there. That's why
He's
would he
never
ever
shook.
care?
When Mecca came to him, we'll get to that part. We'll get to the
Yeah.
part, all the stuff from Mecca. He never flinched. He never showed any signs of being
Mm,
scared. He's just
mm,
willing. He knows. Kane is a type of guy. He knows at some point in his life, all of this
this
is going
guy's
to come
on.
back on him.
Of
He
course.
knows that. He's
He
aware
knows
of it.
the game.
And
He knows
and
life. He has no intentions of getting out of the life, and he knows it.
whenever that time is, I mean, he's ready for it, man. He's like,
He's
listen, I'm
ready.
just gonna step up and take whatever I got coming to me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm just gonna try to avoid it as long as
Try to avoid as
possible.
long as possible.
But
Exactly.
shout out to my boy Woody, man.
Yeah.
That
Woody
scene,
did his thing,
he
man, in
supplied
there.
all the comedy
Yeah,
in
because
that
he had
scene.
lines in the middle of all this arguing. The only thing he says when they find out Zeke is her son, he's like, "Oh, so he's your oldest son, not me." He's like asking questions like that in
That's
the
what he
middle of the
got out of
argument.
it.
That's what he gets out of it. You just sitting there like, "What?" He's just looking around and he said to Diane, I knew you was gonna let that dude hit." That's what
Right.
he said after
After all
MJB,
that, I knew he was gonna let him hit.
Monet exposes that she slept with Tariq. And he's like, "I knew you was gonna let that nigga hit." You know what I mean? So it's like he just he's so calm, and it's just everything's coming out, and he just really was that.
He's like, yeah, I did
He
do
was
that.
needed. He was needed in that scene. He was
Right.
needed in that scene because he really broke it up for the viewer. Like it wasn't just intense, intense, intense. It was an intense scene, but just like in real life,
Hmm.
sometimes intense situations become a little comical too. If
Right.
you got that one, everyone got that one dude. That's just like the niggas that belong in the zoo. Like that's just like when
Right. Yeah.
when there's stuff going on, you got that one guy that's gonna say something funny or say
Yep.
something that's too soon or something like that in the middle of it. So I big up to that scene to all the actors. Great job by all of you. You really brought that scene home.
Right.
Um, so now let's get on to Mecca, since we just
Mm.
talked about that. So this
Mecca's
is gonna be
Mecca's the
interesting.
new. He's the new favorite. I believe, judging
Mhm.
from all the comments, everything,
Yeah,
Mecca is like the new favorite actor on the show.
yeah, I can see that. I can see, he's definitely one of those actors that people are really taking to. Like you said, he's becoming one of the new uh favorite characters. So I'm really I'm interested, and I'm glad that I'd like to see him stick around I'm hoping because he just came in this season. Power usually keeps their antagonists or whatever you want to call them,
Hmm.
usually keep them around at least a season and a half or 2 seasons.
Yeah, look how
You
long
know,
Dre hung around, and
look how long Dre
people
hung
was
around. Look how
dying for him to
long
go.
Lobos was, what, a whole season, or was he 2 seasons? They didn't kill
I believe
Lobos.
he's like a season,
Yeah, did
Lobos,
they kill
but
him in the first season?
he didn't have like the screen time that Mecca had. I said
Yeah.
Mecca's kind of like Dre. Like Dre had a lot of screen time.
Hmm.
Like Kanan. I mean,
Right.
so like he has a lot. He's had screen time
Yeah.
like those guys,
So
and
he,
those
yeah,
guys
and
stayed around a long time.
they stayed around a long time. Exactly. So I think, so like Dan, his name is Daniel Sonata, something like that. His name is
Hmm.
Sahata, and he's definitely doing his thing as a Mecca. So Mecca, um, at this point, we have they pulled that little heist off. They were robbing Mecca. Mecca, at the same time, they said they were, part of Tariq's plan was to use what are they called, the GTGs or whatever the hell they called,
Right,
to as pretty much in the heist. And so all of this stuff is really like a diversion because
hmm
they didn't take many drugs. They only took one
yeah,
little bag of drugs.
one
That was a
that,
diversion. The actual heist was the ring. That was the
right,
heist.
right,
So they needed to get Mecca out of his apartment in order for them to pull this heist off. In the
hmm
meantime, in order to bait excuse me, bait Drew into doing it, pretty much Kane is sacrificing Guap, little
right.
Guap. Kane offers him up as a sacrifice, basically, because he says, if you do this, you get the opportunity to clip this dude.
Right.
And
So
and and
Kane
and, and Drew,
obviously don't care, but never cared
of
about
course
Steve.
not,
He just
of course
using
not.
Guap to get
Using them
to whatever he wants,
whatever he
using
wants.
him as backup or what have you.
Mhm.
And
Yep,
then when he no longer needs him, he's just gonna get
gonna
rid of
kill
him
him.
because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, he did shoot Drew. So
And on top of that, he's careless. He's stupid. He walks
yeah,
around on the
wants
gram
everything
all
for
the
the
time.
gram. He wants,
He does everything for the gram. So Drew is like, okay, I'm with this. So while they're going into, I believe now it's not confirmed, but I believe that Drew went off script a little bit, and I don't think he was supposed to try to kill Guap until after they did the job. Maybe he was
right.
gonna kill him and leave him in the thing. I don't know where he was supposed to
That's a
put
little
him.
weird. That scene
Yeah,
confused me a little
that's,
bit.
that seems a little weird
Wasn't in
because
love with
they're
that scene.
yeah they're up in they're in the they're in the they snuck in because of course Braden, as we said, distracted the guard. Then they're in the stairwell of Mecca's apartment building, and he decides he wants to try to clip him right there in the stairwell, and I just thought that was not cool. And
Right,
they get into a tussle, and he ends up killing him. And then he conveniently finds there's a garbage shaft or a laundry shaft or something like that by there, and he looks at that. So it gives you the illusion or the assumption that he dumps guap down that laundry shaft. All right, so that's how convenient. But anyway, um, then he goes into Mecca's apartment. As you see in the slideshow here, there's the ring. That was the purpose. And there's Kane. He saw it, and that was why they were pulling this heist. That was the
right.
heist, the ring, because that
I
ring
wonder.
was obviously worth a lot of money.
One question I have to ask. I wonder why they picked Drew specifically to go get that ring. I
Mm.
wonder why. I don't understand. Was Guap supposed to be
Well,
with him
they
to
needed
get the
another
ring
person.
first,
The
and
reason
then
why he got Drew is because, remember, everyone had a job. Kane was going to be he couldn't be he had to be with Mecca because
right,
it would look suspicious. Uh, that Reek can't really go up there and do it. Reek ain't even supposed to be there. He couldn't even come because
right,
that's too far. I think that's too far out of the zone. As you could see, Reek was nowhere near none of that. He couldn't be. He still got the ankle thing on it, I'm sure. So there was really no one else to do it. So he figured he'll pull Drew in because Monet had to distract Lorenzo.
Right.
Kane had to be by Mecca's side. And you
Right.
had the other guys in there
And
do this.
Tariq was in court. What does
Tariq
that
was
mean?
in court and couldn't do it. Diana, he distracted Diana because she's
So
so nosy. She would have
right, because
she would
she's
have
so
found out
nosy,
what was
she would have
going
figured it
on.
out. So
Yeah,
I was so was GTG was Guap supposed to get the ring with Drew and then Drew kills him or
I suppose so. Because why else would he be going there with him?
right,
Why would he be going there with him? That they clearly are at the they're clearly there at the apartment
right.
because they're coming to get some money or something that's valuable. And I knew that was going to happen the moment I saw Kane lean in and see that he had that ring. And now,
That's
but
another part. That's the part we need to go to because a
yeah,
lot of people with the whole sacrifice of shout out to Chef Assassin, who is no longer with us, and a lot of people were confused, and I think that was what a lot of people were a little upset about. Um, they did not want um, Mecca to kill Chef Assassin because he was not the mole. The mole, as everyone knows, is Kane.
yeah,
But to be truthful, to let everybody know, Mecca knows that Kane. This is just my opinion. Mecca
yeah,
knows that Kane is the mole,
of
but
course.
he was Chef Assassin was a sack. A lot of people saying, "Oh, he really
Sacrificial
thinks,
lamb.
he really thinks that it's Chef Assassin." He
Mm-mm.
does not.
He's
I don't believe
casual. He's
for for one minute
metal
that he
gem
believes it's Chef
sacrifice.
Assassin.
Sacrifice. That's all that was. That was
Yep.
his way. If you see that little look that Dante gave him, that tells you right there that he did that on purpose. He calculated and did that because he knows that Kane is the mole. Kane standing there thinking, "Oh, jerk." Uh, and but here's the deal: Dante has something planned that's big. That involves Kane being alive. Of course, a lot of people are predicting, as we are too. Kane. The only reason why Kane is alive is because he's Monet's son, and
Right.
Dante doesn't want to kill that. I think that's a big part of it. But I do believe that Dante has some plan that involves Kane that he's not, he's not done with him yet. And I think add to the fact that Monet is the mother, and he wants to have a life with Monet. Could he really have a life with Monet, knowing that he murdered her son? So
Right.
that's probably part of it. But someone did point out, hell, Monet doesn't even know that Kane knows him, so he could have maybe killed him.
Right.
But let's not forget, Lorenzo does know that Kane knows him. So if eventually, I mean, let's be honest, eventually Lorenzo's going to find out who this Dante guy is, because Zeke
Hmm.
knows what he looks like. All Zeke has to do is describe him, and if he describes him to Lorenzo, Lorenzo gonna be like, "That's the dude I met." You know
Right.
what I'm
That's
saying?
my plug.
That's my plug. So that's and so they all know eventually that would have came out. So killing Kane's not the right time to do that right now. But he knows darn well that Kane took that. As you see right there on the slideshow, Kane saw him with the ring.
Right
He's
with
the
the
only
ring.
person that saw him with the ring. So he's gonna know. Now what they probably gonna do is blame Chef for
For stealing
stealing
the
the
ring.
ring because
Mm.
Chef went back to the apartment.
Right
So
after he
because
told him stay up out of there. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
so he went
that's what
back.
they're gonna probably go. Now I don't know whether he was going back to look to notice. I think that's what he was actually going back to do. He may have been looking to make sure that ring was good. I
Mhm,
was saying, because yeah, because I'm sure that he knew that he was just making sure that that place was secure. I'm not sure whether he was going to look for the ring or make sure the ring was secure or what have you. But
mhm,
yeah, as far as that, like I said, we had to touch on that real quick. Um, for the whole
yeah,
thing with Mecca, moving on to what Courtney Kent was talking about, and Courtney Kent said in her interview that there was going to be a
Big
big
death.
death.
Hmm.
Now, to her defense, a lot of people was a little underwhelmed by it being Carrie,
Yeah.
but to her defense, she did not say it's going to be a um a
Surprise.
surprise death. She
A
said it
big
or
death.
unexpected death. She says it's going to be a big death, and
Big
Carrie
death.
Milgram is a big death.
That's a
She's a
big death.
big
She
character.
is a main
She's been in
character.
every single episode,
Yeah,
so
she's a
she
main
is
character.
definitely a main character.
That's a big death. And
In
big
that because
death
that is a big death.
could mean a lot of things too. She's a big death because she is a main character, right? Her
Right.
death may or may not impact things going forward because I mean it's just a coincidence that once again someone else done dropped dead or is dead
Yeah, that
and
has
around
something to do
Tariq. That has something to do
with
with Tariq,
Stanfield. Got something to do with Tariq.
right? So now obviously they're going to rule her death a suicide because when Zeke comes in, and like we
Hmm.
said, spoiler, Zeke comes in and he sees her hanging. So she hung, it makes it look like she hung herself when just a couple scenes before that, Monet was in the apartment talking to her, and Monet strictly said to her, if you are not around, if as long as you're around, he'll never come back to me. He meaning Zeke. He'll never
Right.
come running to me as long as you're around. So it's safe to assume that Monet forced Carrie to probably, you know, make it look like a suicide and hang herself.
Another thing I took. I'm gonna cut you off. Another thing that I took from that is I believe that Monet, once she came there and looking for Zeke, I don't think she came there with the intentions to kill Carrie
No,
Milgram because she
she
thought Zeke
didn't.
might be there.
Yep, she
Then
didn't.
I believe
She
once
saw the
Carrie
opportunity.
let her know that
Her
her
business
life was pretty much over,
over. Yep,
that's when she I think that's
that
when it
gave her the
clicked, like, you know
spark.
what? Now
Now,
if she hangs herself, it's gonna look like, she kills,
so
it's gonna
she
make it
had a
look like he
reason
hung
to.
herself. So
Yep,
that pretty much
yep.
gets her off. And I
Uh
believe
huh.
we're gonna find some sort of suicide note that
Yep.
she may have made her use, my life
Made
is
her.
over. I
Yep.
apologize, blah 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 blah. And I believe she's going to do that. And I believe that Monet left that door open on purpose because she
Mm-hmm.
probably believed that Zeke would come over there.
He could pop up there
Somebody
eventually.
said something about Professor Milgram texting Zeke. I just didn't see that.
Nah,
I don't
nah,
know. I
nah,
don't know
nah,
whether I missed that or not, but
nah.
um,
He just came.
everyone,
He just came there
yeah, he
because
came there. I
he
believe
would.
she
That's where he
left the
would have
door
go. Where
open on
else was he really
purpose.
gonna go? He don't have no family no more. He left out of there and just being distraught. He didn't
Right.
see, that that's where he was gonna end up. I guess that's where he's gonna end up. He comes there and sees her, and he's just like, oh man. And that's how it ends. That's the climax. The full climax of it, and it ends with him seeing the resolution as he sees her hanging there. So
Mm,
that is that was very also put together right. The writing for that was pretty cool. People
yeah.
thinking they're underwhelmed and stuff like that. I wasn't underwhelmed. I thought it was cool, and I thought it was cool the way they did it. You just saw her feet hanging. They didn't get too crazy and actually show her neck
Which I'm
hanging,
glad.
hanging by her neck.
That's very
Yeah,
triggered when you do that. When you
yeah.
show
People get
people
triggered by
hanging
stuff
there,
like that. It's a little
eyes open.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a
I'm
little
glad
that's
they
a
didn't
little
do that.
eerie to go with that. You don't want to see that. So, um, that's pretty much how the episode goes. So, real quickly, we'll go through a couple of the cons. Not many. It's not that many
There
anyway.
wasn't that many.
And then we'll wrap it up by giving our predictions going forward
Right, and
with
theories
the
on a
with the
couple of
season.
situations and characters that a
Yeah.
lot of people aren't mentioning.
Yeah.
My cons, like I said, pretty much I may have two, three tops. Like the first one, of course, is the jury.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on,
That was just
that those
stupid.
type of jury members, they see those reactions, they wouldn't be
Automatic
able to stay on
mistrial.
the jury.
Yeah, even
And
if it's not an automatic mistrial, they would have to dismiss those two. There was one right there you just saw, and then here's the other one coming up. They showed this woman. two, three times.
Yeah,
Look at her face right there. Really? What?
I know.
So she's at,
Listening to everything he's saying.
people may or may not know, we're actually going through this in real life. The Cardi B trial.
Right.
A juror was dismissed because they were
Of their
afraid
reaction.
there's a bias because of the reaction. You cannot have you have to have a poker face if you sit on a jury. You
Yep.
cannot react to it. Some people react some emotion if something's really sad going on or someone testifying and then they start crying. Yeah, the jury will react to that, but you can't react in a biased manner. That face that woman had was like
Bias.
really biased. And
Yeah,
then you had
she
the
up
Asian
out of
dude
there.
and the white dude behind him that's literally cracking up as Davis McLean is lambasting Carrie on the stand. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Oh
just like,
man.
man, you can't do that. Like any good prosecutor or lawyer, period, would be like, Your Honor, I move that we get these jurors off of here because it's clear that they were being swayed by Davis McLean. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Ahead of time. And a jury decision is supposed to be a collective decision. One or two jurors being swayed by it and showing their emotion is not good. That's bad for business. That's not good for jury. So
Mm.
that's yeah, I agree with you. That is definitely one of the holes. And then as we see right there, you saw Braden. Braden, that whole situation with Braden and Effie, and I'm calling them the Scooby Doo gang. What is with that all that? Like they've been
Yeah.
doing this lately in movies all the time too. Just like Spider-Man No Way Home that just came out, in the movies. You got Peter Parker and his little sidekicks and stuff that's
I,
doing little things everywhere. It's this whole
I mean,
Scooby Doo
this is
thing.
life or death.
Yeah,
You are in a situation where you could literally lose your life.
in an instant.
And Braden is like, this is just one big game.
It's like one big game to him.
He shows no seriousness whatsoever.
Yeah, the only way
Effie as well. Effie,
yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
like this, they should have been full out 100% serious. I know you got to put on some acting. I know he had to act, in order to get the dudes out of you know what I mean? Get to move the guy. Okay, I know there's some acting there. But Effie is like she gets the keys from the girl, locks her in there, and then she's like walking away, rolling eyes, like no big deal. So you got
yeah,
time. You got to move, man. Like
right.
this has to be done in a
She
certain amount of
does her
time.
right.
She's
Yeah,
lollygagging around, twirling the keys like that was easy.
yeah, and it's
This is
just
this is no a small time guy you're dealing with.
yeah,
I'm saying so. That was a con where I'm just like, at what point is Braden gonna grow up and
yeah.
realize that this?
He gonna have to catch. He
Like I
gonna to catch a
understand this
body or
dude,
somebody
right?
near him is gonna get killed, like his brother or his father. Somebody's gonna have to get bodied, and then he's gonna have to end up catching a body behind it because he's just you. I think we're all waiting for his balls to drop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Basically, as far as that goes, because at the grand scheme of things, people look at it from above and a bird's eye view, and you feel like he's supposed to be his Tommy. Now he's nowhere near Tommy because he's not a
Right.
killer, but that's what everyone always looked at it as.
Yeah. Just
Braden
because he's
is
white and
yeah, probably because he's
Tariq's
white.
white.
Yeah, Braden is Tariq's Tommy. But
Mm,
he's nothing like Tommy. Comes from
no.
money and this, that, and the other. He's just doing this for the thrill. So
Uh,
the thing about Effie, yes, I thought that it was cute. The scene was cute. It was like I said, it
right.
was like Italian Job meets Tower Heist, like
Right.
type of deal. That's what it was, and it gave a
Yeah. I didn't
nice
have as
little
much problem with Effie if I did with Braden.
yeah. It had a nice little it gave it a nice little lighter tone for that scene. But like you said, I don't know if a lighter tone was needed there. It should have been very serious. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
You
And
know,
calculated.
Kane should have let them know. Listen, you can't
Yeah.
play around here. Like,
Cannot play
I'm gonna
around with
let you
this
know,
guy. This
this
guy is
dude is not your
dangerous.
average dude,
The dude is
right?
dangerous, man.
So
He is
that those
not
are, and I
playing.
think the only other con that I had was probably, I mean, Sachs. Why are you coming up with all this information to Jenny Sullivan? Why not just say no? Oh, no,
Yeah.
of course not. He didn't
Yeah.
play that
Zach
tape.
put
He's
put
pretty much
the
telling
yeah.
her truth, telling her the truth, what she wants to know. He pretty much let her know that
Yeah.
Tariq heard the tape,
And he threw his partner under the bus
who he
because
worked for.
she said there, oh, so you mean to tell me he played that for your client? He should have said no, of
Right?
course not.
No, of course
But
not.
he's like, oh well, I can't act that
I can't
directly.
tell you that
And she said, well, there's
directly.
my answer. And that was it. Screwed up his ass. So that's that. Yeah, I could agree with you there too. I poke a little holes in it for that. My only other con I think was yeah, I think that was it. The overall plan. To me, that plan was a bad plan,
Bad
and
plan.
I don't
Really
think
bad
they
plan.
really had enough people to pull it off the right way. But they had to make it where Braden has to convince this guy using his white privilege to leave his post. These men
Hmm.
get paid a lot of money to work at these luxury hotel or
Right.
luxury apartments.
And they
You
went
do
in
not
there,
leave your
and did
post.
any of them come out of there alive? Like the GTG part, what did they really gain? Did they
They
get
were
even get any
They were
drugs?
sacrificed. They were all sacrifices because they went into that hangar and got lit up.
Right.
Basically, he got lit up by a bunch of dudes with machine guns. So it's just like, what was the point? And they came away with one bag of drugs.
And
That
and I
was
and
it.
I believe it was what I mean. If
Pills, I think
but
it
if he
was.
sacrificed him, if Guap sacrificed him, why was he so surprised that he lost two more homies? Because I think they were just using them to
Yeah,
get
they
the
were
men
using
over
them.
there because
No,
they
I
were
didn't say
doing the big
Guap
heist.
sacrificed them. They were sacrificing them because they
Right.
knew that that was going to happen. Like you said,
Yeah.
Kane has been inside. He knew them niggas would had no chance against
Yeah.
Dante's crew, and that
Right.
Dante's crew mopped them up, and then they went and pretty much mopped up the rest of the GTG. So, um, Kane kind of used that to his advantage. Probably one of the more calculated moves he's ever did, because now they
Right.
just wiped out their competition. You
Right.
know what I
They
mean? They
they're
wiped
definitely,
them
like you
clean.
said, their whole bloodline's wiped out. So
Yeah,
those are only the only really cons that I had in there.
yeah.